Sonia and the Digital Burnout. Key characters. Junior IAG practitioner Sonia. Sonia, 32 years old, has recently been hired by GeGS FP to work in the Employment Guidance Services. She has recently completed a master's degree in adult guidance and is very willing and determined to help young people with fewer opportunities and complex barriers to training, education, and employment. The IAG service manager, Amelia. Amelia, 45 years old, is a trainer and guidance counselor with years of experience. She has a very collaborative and inclusive approach and the experience to manage priorities and responsibilities properly. She also cares about the well-being of her employees, so she tries to find effective solutions to improve their working conditions. Background: GeGS FP has been working in the city of Trieste since the 1950s in the field of training and work orientation. It uses a very inclusive and welcoming approach, combining management tools with planning and training in order to successfully respond to the aspiration of each person to realize their potential through work. GeGS FP has always paid particular attention to young people, women, and vulnerable groups. The organization facilitates activities aimed at early school leavers and NEETs. Trieste, a city in the far northeastern corner of Italy, has always been an area of high migration, multiculturalism, and diversity crossroads of cultures and migratory flows. In recent years, it has been the Italian gateway of the so-called Balkan route. The Western Balkan route is one of the main pathways into Europe. Since mid-2018, transit corridors from Bulgaria, North Macedonia, and Serbia, as well as through Albania and Montenegro, via Bosnia and Herzegovina, have become one of the most traveled mixed migration routes in the Western Balkans. People migrated through this region are mostly from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Iran, and Syria. Among them, more than 200,000 were accompanied foreign minors in the last year. For many unaccompanied minors, GeGS FP is a point of reference not only for training and IAG services, but also for bureaucratic and legal advice. Changes and new challenges. Italy, the first country in Europe to record a high number of infections and deaths due to COVID-19, found itself unprepared for the first lockdown in March 2020. Like many other activities, the orientation practice of GeGS FP Trieste suddenly moved to a digital environment and to a remote mode in which many services had never been provided. Prior to COVID-19, contact with the counselors had only taken place in person after an appointment was made by telephone. Suddenly, the IAG practitioners had to deal with a large number of requests from non-institutional communication channels such as WhatsApp or direct messages on Instagram. The case of Sonia and the identification of needs. Sonia is a young, newly recruited career service staff member who, at the time of the lockdown, had not yet completed her training, which is usually carried out in the presence of senior colleagues. Sonia took her job very seriously and was very responsive to her users. However, during the pandemic, the demand for support from end users became more intense and complex. She received requests, particularly on Instagram, even after working hours for information that was often outside her area of responsibility. Sonia tries to answer every request she receives, regardless of whether it is within her working hours or not, and connects with other services responsible for unaccompanied foreign minors. Since many guidance services had never been tested in a remote environment, the finding of solutions to some specific problems is left to her own initiative. She is very helpful but inexperienced and has not had the chance to train properly. This did not allow her to identify the correct priorities and ways of relating, creating a situation of excessive responsibility and workload that after a few weeks caused Sonia to suffer from burnout, and she had to temporarily leave her service at CHOFS FP. As a result of the situation experienced by Sonia, Amelia, the IAG manager of the CHOFS FP of Trieste, realizes that there are new needs to be addressed. Girls and boys approaching career guidance often ask the same questions. A lot of the information they are looking for can be found online on the CHOFS FP website, but often these young people cannot find it because they lack basic digital competencies. Not finding answers on the website, young people submit their questions through direct messages to the counselors via WhatsApp or Instagram. Furthermore, some services had never been tested in a remote setting, and the task of solving these problems have been left to the will and initiative of the operators. The CHOFS FP guidance practitioners did not have time to adapt to remote working, which led to an overload of tasks and activities. The inability to switch off PCs and mobile phones had a strong interference between work and personal life. The health and well-being of these employees, as in the case of Sonia, was put at risk. Training of a new career guidance practitioner is absolutely necessary and unavoidable, but the fact that it was only delivered in the presence of senior staff was an unacceptable constraint. Success story. To face all these challenges, Amelia worked to find a technological solution that was fairly simple and quick to implement. First of all, a WhatsApp business channel was created. This simple and inexpensive solution made it possible to create the association profile and welcome messages with useful information about training and guidance activities, but also contact information such as address, email, and website, to create standard quick replies, allowing operators to save and reuse frequently sent messages to easily answer common questions in no time. This system also made it possible to set up automatic out-of-office messages to let young people know when to expect a response. However, the solution only met the needs of some of the end users, since many foreign students who have just arrived in Italy do not have a telephone number and cannot communicate through this channel. A chatbot was therefore designed to be included on the organization's Facebook page and website. This technological solution is useful for those who cannot find information on the CHOFS FP website and who, by turning to a chatbot, are quickly guided to the appropriate information. Moreover, it is easy to create it in other languages and allows operators to save time to devote to more important matters, where the guidance counselor's advice becomes essential. The WhatsApp business channel and the chatbot managed part of the incoming requests, reducing the stress of the operators and improving their health and well-being at work. Amelia, in cooperation with other local counterparts, also started to create a platform containing online learning modules for the training of guidance practitioners. The situation experienced during the pandemic period showed that CHOFS FP provides a welcoming and inclusive service, responding to many needs, especially the needs of those most vulnerable in society, in collaboration with or in substitution of the bodies actually responsible for this. This leads practitioners like Sonia to interact with other actors of the system, prefectures, reception centers, enterprises, to find data and information needed by their users. Unfortunately, they cannot use a shared database or rely on a shared and open territorial governance system. For this reason, CHOFS FP is now also working to address another technological challenge to improve the future of services, the creation of an information system shared with the other local structures in charge of the management of unaccompanied foreign minors, in a sort of virtual one-shop, with direct sharing of information between the actors of the system.